Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
You have been through a lot in 9 years, and I'm very proud of you.
The protector of Central City has been running for 9 years, and all the paths that he's taken are about to converge into one last moment.
The whole timeline will be at stake.
Join the Justice League of Superhosts as they keep up with The Flash and share his journey to the final run. Welcome to Tomorrow's Legends and their coverage of the final season of The Flash.
Well, hello there, Speed Demons. It's Rogonomics this week as we get a smorgasbord of villains to play with. But these guys are kind of on the value menu, as none of them are real threats on their own, and that's why they had to team up and give us like 8 of them this episode. So with that, I am no longer hungry, I am the Flash.
And I'm heading to my old home of Gotham City to look into things with the Bat family. I'm X-Force 11.
Yeah, and it is just the two of us tonight. That is it, just the two fellas, because we are without Silver Vox, and Green Butterfly still has not been able to make it, so we'll see what... Oh, you know what? Gideon. We haven't checked in on Gideon. Have you been with us this whole time?
Yes, Captain.
Okay, so you're still... She's just had nothing to say lately, I guess.
I don't know.
Maybe she feels weird because she knows there should be her former self, the Gideon self, in the room at Star Labs there.
Right.
So maybe she's in a bit of her own time loop, something or other. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Well, we got some news to get to this week.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
Yeah, so we got basically some questions and answers from TV Line with the creators of The Flash. And the first question was, with the old villains returning in the final season, could Team Flash encounter the former Black Siren, Earth 2 Laurel, a.k.a. Black Canary, played by Katie Cassidy again? And alas, no.
Oh.
Not her particularly, Eric Wallace, showrunner, says. But there are quite a few old villains and a couple of new ones on his bucket list. So we'll see who actually shows up in addition to the rogues we've seen and some other villains that we've got coming. We know that we've got coming, so we'll see. But no Black Siren.
Well, we're running out of episodes. We're down to 10 left now, and we've just had these first 3 have been the same rogues. Like they're just kind of bringing in. So I guess they're building it up.
Yeah.
To be something. There's going to be a team. I mean, based on the way this episode went, you had a whole team of them. So
yeah,
we'll see. Like I said, I think we're starting off with the, like I said, the value menu. Rogues were hopefully the bigger, badder ones, the cooler ones come in soon.
Yeah. And the next question was, any news on Cobalt Blue showing up in The Flash's final season? And they have to say, I have to wonder if you're onto something, especially with Rick Cosnett, who has often been dreamcast as Cobalt Blue, due for an encore. Plus, showrunner Eric Wallace replied, and with a tight-lipped reply, I cannot answer this at this time.
Oh.
So we'll see. But I mean, I feel fairly sure we're getting Cobalt Blue. But who's actually going to be playing, we don't know yet.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny when the interviewers hit the question right on the head, and they're like, "Oh, you had to ask that one. Dang it, I can't say anything."
No comment.
Yeah. That basically gives you your answer right there. Yeah. All right, we also got in here Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode 1 description. Season premiere is directed by Tom Cavanaugh. Season 3 of Superman and Lois opens weeks after Superman's blowout defeat of Allie Alston. Clark and Lois are now working at the Smallville Gazette together and enjoying small-town life. But the Kent's romantic bliss only shines a light on how isolating the secret can be, as Chrissy struggles to balance a new love interest and her friendship with Lois. However, Lois's own work-life balance is put to the test when an undercover assignment reveals a deadly foe that promises to change the Kent family forever. Superman would move heaven and earth for his family, but with a villain this merciless, even that might not be enough. Meanwhile, the Kent boys find themselves being pulled in opposite directions. Amid all this upheaval, John Henry is haunted by his doppelganger's past, leading to dangerous consequences for him and Natalie. Lana Lang and Kyle redefine their family post-separation, while Sarah explores what the future holds for her and Jordan now that she knows the truth about his powers. Having learned the hard way that no one else can be trusted to work with Superman, General Samuel Lane reclaims his post at the Department of Defense only to face his own conflict in working with his grandson, Jordan. Tom Cavanaugh directed the episode, written by Brett Fletcher and Todd Helbing. And that was released, in March, or original air date. Is that when it's coming? March 14th?
Yeah, March 14th.
Okay.
That's when we come back.
Yeah. There you go. That sounds pretty exciting. That sounds like a pretty decent overall season outline.
Yeah. And that's, basically just the episode description for episode 1. So, yeah. So and man, I put it in the group today, but they released a new poster for the season.
Oh, did they again?
Really good. Yeah.
You just posted one the other day about a new poster.
Yeah, but this one they just posted today. So, yeah.
Let me have a quick peek because I am curious. I did not know that. Let's have a look at this new poster for Superman and Lois, right?
Yep.
Whoa, look at that. New Strength Awakens. Yeah, okay, now that is like cinematic theatrical poster.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Okay. Like it. Good stuff. Well, let's get on with the show with giving our ratings for this one.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right. So I gave this one 7.5 rogues in questionable outfits.
Oh, yes.
I appreciated the introduction of Murmur to the show, and that the show had her using ASL to communicate. But let's be honest, a lot of Flash's rogues are kind of corny. The show is kind of making them work, but I don't know if we needed a rogues versus rogues episode. But I do like the pace that we're keeping up, that we're 3 episodes in and we're revealing that Red Death is Ryan Wilder, so that there's kind of no speculation there, but we can kind of dig into like how Ryan Wilder became Red Death. And I'm interested to know what her reasons were for having and wanting the Cosmic Treadmill. And so that kind of intrigued me. And I also enjoyed kind of Barry owning up to his mistakes and looking for solutions. So, it was a solid episode. It wasn't as good as last week for me, but, still not as good as the season premiere. But there were some points to bring it up for me.
Well, let's hope that some of those points cast some intrigue for me, because we're going to have to count on your notes here. Because I'm going even lower this week. This is only a 5, and it's a 5 heaping plates of cheese along your side dish of corn. Because, yes, cheese, that's what Flash has become in the Arrowverse. This one was all cheese. Everything from the dialogue, to the costumes, to the weapons, to the stupid stances they're always in. This truly has taken another step backwards after a hopeful and very positive premiere. I'm almost regretting our decision to take on this show if this lack of quality storytelling persists. But I did try. I tried to accept it for what it was, a true rendition of comic books and cartoons coming to life, the 4 against 4 scenario, what powers will beat what powers. But it's just so difficult to find any enjoyment in this one for me. So once again, I'm going to be wearing my yellow suit tonight, but I promise I'll do my best to not complain too much. Let's get into it.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
All right, so I broke this up into a couple points, and it's more, plot line oriented. So let's talk about the setup and the heist. So we will get into Barry and Iris, but they arrive at this crime scene, and Kramer kind of breaks it down. And Barry knows just by looking at it that Murmur's blades are using the same tech as Captain Boomerang's boomerang, and, you know, we find out also the new fiddle.
Yeah, when he said new tech, because he started saying it's like microprocessors and all this kind of stuff. So I'm guessing I'm guessing they had a better look at the tech earlier for him to just be able to recognize it like that. But I had to laugh because he's busy telling to Captain Kramer, he's like, yeah, these filings, they're almost too hard to see unless you had a microscope. And then he holds up a Ziploc bag and you can see him shaking the filings inside. I'm like, well, I can see them. What are you talking about, Barry? Do you need some glasses? But, you know. But the positive bit I'll pull out of it is that at least we got a glimpse of Barry still doing some type of forensic work. I wish they would dive into it a little bit more and have him there with his suitcase of tools, and he's on the ground, he's got the gloves on, and he's actually doing the forensics instead of we just kind of caught the end of it. But yeah, at least he was there.
Yeah. So we find out that the rogues stole a temporal scanner. And so basically they figure out that everything that has been stolen is used to build a cosmic treadmill. And they need the MacGuffin of this episode is the quantum vibration engine. And so, you know, here we go. Like, okay, sure, whatever.
Comic book technology is at an all-time high this episode because there was a lot of technobabble that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there was so much of it, but I have to, every time they say Cosmic Treadmill, that just sounds silly. Like, can they not rename it? Because I was surprised Captain Kramer didn't have her, like, she's like, do I even want to know what that is? I thought I was expecting her because she's a little more analytical and a little more serious. I thought she would have like, you know, guffed at it like, what is that? Like, come on, you serious? A cosmic treadmill? But she actually was really serious in the moment. She goes, I don't think I want to know what that is.
Yeah. I guess it's just being, I mean, they've used it several times before in the series and in the Arrowverse, and, you know, just being true to the comics. So
yes, that's what to do. But when you step away from that cosmic treadmill, you have to run on it very fast to be able to go back in time or change. Like it is a very silly concept, but
sure.
But that shot that they showed of Godspeed was cool. I mean, he looks cool when he's running on it. Mm-hmm. It was pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So Barry and Iris then go on to fill in Hartley because they're like, you know, we need to find, you know, that piece of tech. And so he basically reveals that the DOD has it, and General Eiling, who's not a fan of Team Flash, actually has it. And so they figure out they're going to have to steal it. They're not going to be able to just go ask for it very nicely.
See, and I was hoping that they would bring Eiling back into this. Maybe he'll show up later, but I love Clancy Brown.
Oh, me too.
He was a decent villain, a decent foe for our team. What was that?
Yeah.
What was that, season 2 or season 3 when we last saw him?
Yeah, I can't remember, but he's just an amazing actor. Like, both voice actor and in person too. So he's just awesome at that. So
yeah, he's got one of those voices too. As soon as you hear it, you're like, whoa, that's Clancy Brown. He's really good at it. So I mean, maybe there's just a hint that he might be coming back. This could be one of their older villains that might show up.
Yeah,
you know, because obviously stuff's happening at whatever this factory or wherever this place is they're stealing from. So he's obviously going to find out about that, and maybe he will make an appearance.
Yeah. So they basically figure out, well, they determine that this engine is secured. There's an anti-meta, you know, a dampening tool there, and 4 engines to power it. So there's multi-redundancy. So they need 4 rogues to take it down. And so they've got the Pied Piper. They get Jacko a.k.a. the Hotness, Mr. Create a volcano in Central City from last season. They recruit Chill-Blaine, and they get Goldface. And, Goldface is just cheesy, but I like how they turn his character is like this, supposed to be this thug gangster, but he's like got a book club and like he's like very like playing against type. So like he's cheesy, but like they do it in a fun way. So they all come together to do this partnership, and they, basically they all want the engine for their own reasons. They're basically either money or what they're going to use it for, and they basically start to brawl with each, get to this standoff, and basically they cut Barry out of it because he won't let them do whatever they want. So
yeah. It's funny, but before I go on about the other points there, every time we saw Goldface, I'm just watching this actor like, dang, he reminds me of someone, and I can't figure it out. And finally tonight, watching this episode for the second time, I finally clued in. He looks like George Clooney. He's a black George Clooney. It's hilarious. You look at his eyes, you look at the way he smiles, you look at the way, I'm like, holy crap. They're like, brothers from a different mother type of looks.
Nice. I'm gonna have to go do a comparison. So
yeah,
that'll be fun.
That'll be fun. Yeah, put it up beside and see if I'm correct on that. That'd be kind of funny. But yeah, it's funny, these guys that they put together. Goldface, to me, he's so silly. His power, like, I can control gold. That is such a weird power. It's very strange. And then when he got hit in the head by one of the boomerangs, I didn't realize he had a gold skull. Is his skeleton made of gold now? Like, I don't remember his...
Yeah, I forget the exact, stuff of it, but that's why his gold origin. Face, like, it's like in there. But he doesn't just control gold, but like he's
made of it.
Made of it. Somewhat made up of gold, so...
Interesting. He must weigh a lot then, I guess. I don't know, but...
Maybe it's only his skull, but still, like,
Still, yeah. This was plot device layered with cheese. 4 engines that needed 4 rogues that had specific powers, because each one was a cold engine, one was a hot engine, one was a sound engine, one was a vibration. They needed specific rogues to do specific things to these engines. Talk about heavy plot devising here. That's why this whole episode was just so silly. But what I was laughing at is in the writing, the way these villains came together, and they're poking fun at each other's names and each other's outfits, each other's powers. It's like the writers are actually realizing how silly and ridiculous these guys truly are. Let's make fun of them by writing that into the dialogue and writing that into the story. Let's just make fun of these goofballs because they're goofy. They truly are just goofy. And that's what I was kind of laughing at, that let's put these guys together and see what happens, because individually they're just, not a threat. But together, maybe we can have a comical scene or two with them. But
yeah, and I think for the Flash, especially in the comics, that kind of makes sense because of his sense of humor and how light he is and different things like that. And, we've had deeper villains and things like that, but you've got these rogues who are, in the end, kind of silly.
Well, you said it earlier, right? If you really step out of being a fan of Flash and just look at the comic book history, his villain catalog is all pretty silly. Reverse Flash is really... there really isn't much beyond him. Like, most of it, the Top and Captain Boomerang and, Rainbow Raider or whatever, like all these guys, they are all truly very, very silly. So, so it's hard to look at Flash and his rogue gallery and then realize, well, when Flash is with the Justice League, it's been proven that he's pretty much one of the most powerful members of the team. When he puts his speed to use for so many different things, he's able to stop Superman. He's able to do all kinds of things with his speed. But when it's Flash on his own, it's his own story is pretty silly.
yeah, I agree. So we get, and we'll talk about this more, but Barry kind of realizes that, he needs to apologize for them and for the way he treated them. And so he shows up, backs Hartley's plan, and brokers a deal. So basically he says, Hartley, you can have the engine, and you get to pay the other three $250,000 each. Yeah. And he's like, what? You said you didn't need the money?
So that would be if he sold the engine, because the guy said that it's worth $1 million, so they would have to sell it to be able to give each person $250,000, I guess.
Or he could. Or
is he rich?
I think he's got some money on him, so I think he was planning on keeping the engine for himself. But he could probably afford the price. So.
Cool.
But here's the silly thing. Okay, everyone but Goldface knows Barry's the Flash, because Deco knows because of his jitters order. Okay, what? You got two people that have the same order. You're telling me that nowhere in the reality there's not somebody else that has the same order as Barry Allen and the Flash.
Which, again, is the Flash stopping in at Jitters to buy a coffee? Does he do that often? Because maybe the guy recognizes his voice, too. Maybe, hey, Barry and the Flash sound awfully alike.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's that easy to figure out and nobody else has figured it out, but here we are again. The whole city knows who Barry is. Even all the villains do now. So,
yeah.
To me, it's building up Flash as a hero to be... I don't want to keep using the word silly, but ridiculous. If everybody knows who he is, then what's the point of being a hero wearing a costume and a mask? It's kind of taking away from Flash being cool and being a fun hero to follow. Because the whole idea of being a superhero, having a secret identity and wearing a mask is because of that. You don't want anybody to know. You want to be able to live a normal life, and unless he wants to be what are some of the other heroes like Iron Man? When Tony Stark is yep, I'm Iron Man, and the whole world knows. If that's the kind of the storyline, then let's write that in. Let's just say, I'm revealing my identity. I'm Barry Allen. I am the Flash, and that makes more sense instead of just having everybody know because he's too dumb to keep it hidden. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So we get the actual caper here, and I forgot to put this in the notes because I thought about it the second time.
Okay.
So they're coming in, and they go to take out the power generators, and they all take them out.
Yeah.
But Barry goes and takes the thing from the vault, and you're telling me here's this vault that's protected by this anti-meta thing, and there's no cameras?
Oh, yeah.
There's no mention of, we're going to take out the cameras first, or,
right.
We're going to blast the cameras. What?
Kind of right. For a high-tech, super high, top security facility, you would think there'd be cameras everywhere. And there wasn't.
If you're going to have an anti-meta, ray there, are you not going to have some? Okay.
Yeah. See. This is why this episode just. The writers are getting lazy and uncreative, and it's making Flash not be very enjoyable anymore. This is stuff that just shouldn't happen on this TV show. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think they needed to put in the rogues because of rather than having, Red Death do everything, and they wanted to have a way of bringing some of these people back. So that's the way that they're doing it. And, we've heard that there's arcs. So, I'm hoping this is kind of the more silly arc at the first, and then we'll have a little deeper one the second half. But we'll see.
Well, you might have a point there. It's the final season. Maybe they're just trying to bring back as many people as they possibly can just to have a big send-off and, remember this guy? Remember this villain? Yeah. And they're just trying to have some fun and bring everybody back. And so in doing that, when they're basically revealing to us how many villains there actually are still running around, well, what's Flash going to do if he retires or runs off into the sunset? What's going to protect Central City? Because there's all these bad guys still hanging around.
Yeah. We've got to have that by the end of the season of how things continue. So
yeah.
So not a big surprise, but Mark Blaine double crosses them. He's working for Red Death. Red Death promised him a way to get Frost back, and so he basically steals the engine for Red Death.
Didn't we predict that last week? One of us said he's not going to stay true to Flash.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But did you notice in this scene that because each room had a specific engine or specific protection on it, and each rogue had to go to their own area to disable the barrier. Did you notice that every room had a certain color scheme based on who was in that room? So Goldface was in a yellow part of the room. Pied Piper was in a green room. They were all in very color coordinated rooms to match who the rogue was in that particular room, which I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, it's just an editing directing type of choice, but
right.
Yeah, it was just funny. So Goldface had to play with the gold circuits in the thing, and Blaine had to cool down the hot engine, and the heat guy had to heat up the cold engine. Like it's
well, it's an easy switch out of having the same set. You just replace the lights and the color on the LED screen.
That was it, yeah.
And use the same set.
And shoot from a different angle, yeah, because that's all they did. It was pretty, I think the budget on this one was, well, maybe the budget went all to the special effects, because when you really looked at it, they're just in, like you just said, the same factory room or same boiler room. And when you looked around, like you said, there's no cameras, no nothing. When Barry looks up at the dampening thing, it was just a very like a 3D printed piece of plastic that they just hung up from one of the pipes in the ceiling. And there was no other tech around that matched that. You could tell we're just in a boiler room of a apartment building somewhere, filming the scene. But here's this great big glowing yellow satellite dish that's just completely out of place, dampening their powers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we have our first face-off. We've got Murmur versus Pied Piper, Captain Boomerang versus Goldface, and Fiddler versus the Hotness, and of course we've got Chill-Blaine versus Flash. But so
did you notice I was watching this, especially after the second time watching this episode, except for Murmur and Goldface, the rogues all pretty much have the same power. It's the exact same visual. It's the exact same thing. They have various hand blasts. You got cold blast, you got a hot blast, you got a sound blast, you got a vibration blast. Whether it's coming from gauntlets, a violin, hands, or whatever, it's all the exact same. They do the exact same thing. They all shoot their hands forward and they shoot out a hand blast of some kind. Exactly the same thing. All they have to do is change the color in the special effects to match their. I'm like, wow, you know what? Here again is lack of creativity. Every villain is doing the exact same thing. What kind of power do we have? I don't know. I'll have them shoot something from their hands. All right, you're shooting cold, and you're shooting hot, and you're shooting sound, and you're shooting vibrations, but they're all shooting something out of their hands. So that actually makes Goldface stand out, because he took his gold chain off and he's whipping it around like he's Indiana Jones. So hey, way to go, Goldface.
So we pretty much have the rogues take out everybody, and then we have everybody meet up outside, and so we've got the 4 versus 4 out there, and we look like we're gonna get round 2 out there, and in runs Red Death and basically takes everybody out. And then, so it's like, okay.
and cue up the worst pose down in TV history. That is right off the. I don't know how many comic book covers I have seen in all my years where they have one team on the left side, one team on the right side, and they're all facing off against each other. So that's what I mean. It's very comic book accurate in what they're trying to bring to life here. So okay, having fun with that. But what the part that bugs me is that each character got their close up, allowing them to strike a pose.
Yeah.
This is what I mean, is where it's just so silly, it's so ridiculous looking. But I appreciate the pullback, and you have the two teams facing each other. That is true comic book presentation right there. But I want to ask you, what do you think of Red Death's suit? Because I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, God, it's bulky, it's mechanical, it's kind of like what Savitar looked like. For me, it's a little bit too much, and I know I talked about it in a previous show. Everybody's going all Iron Man these days. Everybody has to have a metal mechanical suit. Why? I mean, a speedster doesn't need that much. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I thought it's a lot less bulky than Savitar's, because I mean, because you look at how big Savitar's armor was, and then when Other Barry steps out of it, it's he was kind of small. But yeah, it feels like a bulky, a little blow up of a Flash. I guess when you've done Reverse Flash and Black Flash and other things like that, you've got to come up with something that looks different and is a little bit different. Now, we will talk about it a little bit more, or actually Green Butterfly will, in our comic, Cougar's Comic Corner, but the image on that cover it looks like what we're getting, but it's the one in the TV show is a little more bulky than that one. Now, so granted, they're having to make it think like Barry thinks that it's a guy in there rather than a woman. So that may be part of it. So I just wonder. It's a little bulky for my taste too. So.
Okay, well, what about the mechanical aspect of it though? Like the whole Iron Man thing, like that, because the last speedster we had was Godspeed, and he was just in tights. He didn't need this whole armor suit. So I liked the look of Godspeed. That was cool. I
don't know. To me, it looks less mechanical than armor. To me, when I think about mechanical, I'm thinking about Iron Man and those type of suits where you can kind of see some of the mechanics in there. And to me, this looks more like armor, like a bulky samurai style armor or something like that, where it's a little more bulky than mechanical from what I saw. So
I think it's the size of it. Like if you compare, you want to put armor on a speedster, then look at Flash in the Justice League movies. He was armored up. He wasn't wearing a spandex suit. He was armored up, but he wasn't big. He just had armor on his suit, and he didn't have to be this big bulky thing. Because to me, I think it wouldn't work. I can't see a big bulky suit like that being able to maneuver at high speeds. You know what I mean? Like I think you need the agility along with the speed. That's the only way it works. Having that much armor just doesn't physically make sense to me.
Well, and the thing about it is, we don't know yet how she got her speed. And if it's actually her having her speed, or if it's somehow related to the suit.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
And maybe the suit, and even with that, maybe the suit is helping regulate her. I just don't know. But, I'm just like, I need to know more before we go forward there. So.
Yep, true.
So we get, at the end there, Barry basically says Team Flash is not going to be able to stop Red Death, and we, and these rogues, we're going to need you as well. And it's basically Goldface that names Red Death, gives the character the name Red Death in this universe. But so he asks them to continue helping. But then we kind of get the private thoughts a little bit later that he's talking with Iris, and it says, if they're wondering if Red Death is the new avatar of the Negative Speedforce.
Right.
And so, this is kind of interesting to think about. Like, is Red Death that, or is she just tapping into the Negative Speedforce? We just don't know. So, lots of questions there.
Well, yeah, because when she knocked him out, his speed was glitching, and he says she's taking my Speed Force and converting it to negative or whatever, or however he explained it. So something was happening there. Now they have to fill us in a little bit more, and I'm guessing because we talked about the next couple episodes might be some background into who Red Death is. So maybe we'll get some explanation there. But yeah, it was kind of strange because how is the Flash supposed to fight her if every time she's near, his speed doesn't work?
Right, exactly. So yeah. So I don't know. So
yeah, hard to say. But I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I do want those questions are there. I do want the answers. I want to understand Red Death because it's new to me. So I want to see what she's all about and why she's doing this, and what's the end game to all of it? Yeah.
It's obviously different from the comics, and so she's going after. She's building the Cosmic Treadmill, not because she needs it to get super speed like Batman did, but why is she getting it? So yeah, we'll have to dig into it, and so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So I put all the Barry and Iris stuff together, and so just to kind of deal with their kind of relationship aspects of this.
Okay.
So they're in France taking a cooking class together, and they're pretty impressive with her cooking until you learn that they tried the recipe 40 times in Flash time to get it right.
Now that is something I can finally be happy and positive with, because it was such a fun, cute little opening for this episode and a cute moment for them. Like, they're just enjoying each other's time, and they're out trying to check off the things on their bucket list, and it was just fun. It was just a fun moment, and that joke was legitimately funny. It made me laugh. It's like, if she only knew that we've done this 40 times. Like, because you forget in the moment, you forget that when he goes into Flash time, everything else pretty much stops. For the rest of the world. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
So I had fun. I got as much as I could from their baby moon list. So pizza from 3 countries in Europe, camping under the Northern Lights, sunset cruise off of Kiowa, visiting Big Ben at midnight, which they've done, on the water, a picnic on the water at Venice canals, done, French cooking class in France, done, Tokyo food tour, done, Mezcal nightcap in Cabo, hiking in the outback, done, dine on top of the Flatiron Building, which is in New York there, done, off-roading in Joshua Tree, done. And the last one, all I could really see was Watch, and it looked like maybe old, so I'm thinking maybe watch Old Faithful, because they talked about that going to Yellowstone and that kind of... So...
Gotcha. So, that's a pretty good list. That's not a bad world traveling list. Wow.
There's some fun ones on there. So.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe, do you think we'll get a glimpse of each one every single episode?
I don't know. That would be kind of fun. I talked about that, getting to see them do some of these things. And here they get a notification, and they actually head back to Central City together, and Iris wants to go with him, and so I like that. So that's when they head off to the crime scene. But I like that they actually, are going back together, and not like him leaving her or whatever, so that they're going back together.
So does he carry her the whole time when they're traveling? Does he just scoop her up and go?
I guess so. I mean, if Red Death can scoop up the 4 rogues and run off with them,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
I'm like, how does that actually work?
Yeah, how do you fit 4 people in your arms? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll get into this because it's my favorite scene. But Iris confesses that while she enjoys doing things together, that she wants to have some of those accomplishments of her own before Nora comes.
Yeah.
And, to break a big story. And the part of it that I chose as my favorite scene is just Barry reassuring her about, them going after their goals together and growing. And so, we'll get into that. But I really appreciated that.
For sure. Yeah, we'll talk about that again.
All right, so let's talk about the Red Death and the Rogues, and we've talked a bit about the showdown, but we'll talk about the beginning. And so, Captain Boomerang and Fiddler are aided by Michelle Amar, a.k.a. Murmur, and so this is a gender flip because in the comics it's Michael. And basically, in the comics, Michael's a respected surgeon, went on a killing spree to stop the voices in his head. And so he blurts out his confessions to his crimes. So basically, he, cut out his own tongue and sewed his lips together.
Jeez.
So she was a med student. Yeah, she was a med student, not a full doctor yet, so we don't have the full story. And I'm kind of thinking they switched the gender because we had Murmur in several episodes of Arrow season 4. Wow, and so they're just trying to throw it off and make it different than that Murmur.
Murmur is creepy. The whole idea is creepy, and when we saw her in the trailers, I was kind of looking forward to getting a creepy, spooky episode, because that's what I thought Murmur was going to get, was her own creepy episode. She's going to get introduced, going to have her own episode, which made me think of that guy. Who was that guy that used to fold up into small spaces? He had really long arms and legs, but he could fold.
Oh, yes. Oh,
and he wore that skeleton mask or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Because he's a real-life contortionist, so that's why it was so creepy to see him maneuvering around when he did. I thought we were going to get that type of episode with Murmur as well, because in the trailer, she looks creepy. But this one was so disappointing. She wasn't scary at all. She just shows up at the factory. I got some knives, and I'm going to fight you with my knives. Like, there was nothing scary about her at all, and I was like, oh, man. That was such a letdown, and that's again, points are just being lost off my rating as we go. Come on, I was hoping for a way cooler introduction of her here on The Flash.
Yeah, I just don't know if they've got the time to do that, and there's things I wonder, like she absorbed all the sonic blast that Pied Piper.
Yeah, how?
So I'm thinking it's got to be tech, because they've got all this tech that they're getting from Red Death. But something interesting is, I talked about it in my beginning, is she uses ASL to communicate, and from what I can tell, the actress playing her has also done some directing and some crew work, and she worked on that movie Coda.
Okay.
Which is about the child of deaf parents, and so she was crew members on that, so she probably knows that. It doesn't say in her IMDb that she is hard of hearing, but it was just really kind of cool to get to see her use that ASL and to see Pied Piper, interpret it and be able to respond back. So I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yes, I agree with you that to bring it, like, who's to say we won't have a deaf villain or anything like that, or have an actor play that? It's totally fine. It's like similar to what was the other show where they had The Last of Us, when they just had the little kid's brother.
Yeah.
He was like 8 or 9 years old and he was deaf, but here he is acting on The Last of Us as a deaf kid. But what bugged me about that? Okay, yes, cool, but it dragged on. Like you were in the middle of this massive heated battle sequence. And then she stops to sign language and sign language, and she's basically monologuing with sign language, and it completely killed the whole sequence. I'm like, oh, okay, now this got really boring all of a sudden. And I don't mean that to sound anything bad against sign language, but it just went on too long. It killed the action sequence. So I was again just like, come on with this murmur. She's supposed to be creepy and scary, and you've taken all of that away from her.
Yeah, we'll see. So we see that the rogues are spying on Goldface, because we get this really quick scene of one of the posters basically having a camera, and it's watching the whole scene of Flash and Piper talking to Goldface. And so I'm like, did they get that info? Like, how did they know that they were going to talk to Goldface, or are they just like scouting out potential rogues to join them? I just don't know. That's kind of weird.
That might be the only reason. Yeah, I can't come up with anything there.
Yeah, I mean, you did have Murmur offer to have Pied Piper join them, but he said no. So maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and he had Hotness and Violin Lady almost hook up. So
yeah,
like they started flirting over 9 Inch Nails. So
yeah. So I didn't know where to put this, but I put it here because we got Iris and Team Flash researching basically Red Death the Rogue. And he basically confirms that the weapons were made by the same person. At first, they don't have any leads, but then he determines that the tech is leading back to Wayne Enterprises. And so we have this tie, to Wayne Enterprises, and he talks to Luke Fox, son of Lucius Fox, who was the tech guy for Batwoman in her series. And basically the Rogue's weapons are based off of designs, but they're way far beyond anything that's really possible. They're beyond bleeding edge. And this is where we also find out that Batwoman, a.k.a. Ryan Wilder, has been missing for weeks.
Now, that stuff was cool when they revealed all that, because that's basically tying into Batwoman, which got canceled, 3 seasons in, they canceled it. So the fact that the Flash is at least paying homage to that a little bit and giving them a little bit of a send-off and kind of tying them in and allowing the actress to come join our show for a little bit, that part was very, very cool. They're at least squeezing that into the end of the Flash here. So if they do that same type of thing to Legends, just by making us know that, hey, we're all in the same universe and we are in contact every once in a while. Because when Chuck says, it looks like we got to call Gotham, and it just sounded cool. It just sounded like, oh, hey, maybe they are all in touch once in a while. Like they keep up with each other. So it was cool.
Yeah, definitely. So back in Red Death's lair, Mark, he only did it because Red Death promised that she could help bring back Frost. And basically she says, not going to happen until after my mission is complete.
Yeah. And
so this is where we get the reveal that Red Death is Ryan. Of course, they probably don't know who that is
they didn't
at all,
her,
but yeah. So, but very different looking than, because of the white in her hair. So
it was a cool reveal for her. I didn't watch Batwoman, but she looked pretty pissed off here, and she was pretty menacing, especially against the rest of the losers in the room. She actually looked menacing and looked pretty cool. So I did appreciate her reveal. That was pretty cool. And it came after the moment because I mean, even again, this is the writers making fun of their own characters in their own episode. They're all making fun of Mark's costume, and it does look pretty ridiculous. Why does he have to run around with his shirt open other than to just show himself off? Yes, the guy's ripped. Why would you wear a jacket that's 5 sizes too small, that's got white, like, I looking at his jacket, I'm like, this guy should be playing Sabretooth from the X-Men. That's who he looks like.
Well, actually, and I forget who put it in the group, if it was Bianca or somebody, Kraven the Hunter.
That too.
From Spider-Man. Yeah, because of the fur.
Yeah, Kraven or Saber, like that. Yeah, easily, for sure. And there's a Kraven the Hunter movie coming too, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, just fun. Yeah, like you said it in your rating, the silly costumes. It's like, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So to close us out, we had a couple of scenes with Chuck, Allegra, and Keon. And Keon is bringing nature into Star Labs.
She makes a great point, though. We've never actually stopped to think about it. There's no windows, there's no plants, there's no trees, there's no flowers, there's nothing in Star Labs. It's really, really bland and like laboratory feeling.
Yeah, I mean, except for the observation one that they introduced a couple years ago, there are no windows in anywhere.
That's true.
Else,
and how do they get to that? That's like upstairs, isn't it? Because
yeah. And one thing I really noticed in this episode is they showed 2 different views of the lab. Like they had that river view where you could see it by that bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had the other view of where you're looking through the girders of the section that was destroyed. Not, we've always talked about the roof, but you could see there's a whole section that's just wide open. You could see through the girders on that, one of those upper levels.
Right, right. And just for cool trivia, I know a guy in the drone community. All of those aerial shots that we get of Star Labs, that's all in Portland, Oregon. That whole sequence, everything.
Okay.
That river where Star Labs is sitting on the edge of it. Yeah, that's a sky shot from Portland, Oregon. I forget what he says is actually there. It's just like a shipyard or something, or like an old junkyard kind of thing. So they just put stuff on top. They put Star Labs right on top of that. So yeah, but he's like, I fly my drone there all the time. There's no Star Labs there.
So Chuck and Allegra are still trying to find their way with each other, and yeah,
she was acting really weird this episode, like way more so than last week. So is that because of the weirdness between her and Chuck, or is it mostly, you think, because of Keon?
I think it's a little bit of both, because we get her talking with Keon about, her being awkward because she voted against her, and that Frost was like a big sister to her, and she misses her, and she also was able to sit and, talk with her, and she misses that. So I think she's awkward because she thinks that, maybe Keon holds things against her, but also that she doesn't have anybody to discuss her feelings with Chuck with. And so it's kind of a, both, she's seeing 2 people, and both of them are, hard, she doesn't know where she stands in the relationship with each.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It could be a little bit of both. And I mean, the fact that, she did vote against her, and now she's standing here, like how would you process that yourself? Like, hey, I didn't want you here, and now I got to work with you. I mean, that would I would feel pretty uncomfortable with that. I chose you to die, and here you are.
Yeah, I basically voted to get rid of you to get my pseudo big sister back, and But in that scene on the balcony, Cajon calls her out, and about her feelings about Chuck, and ask about is it love, and Allegra's just not ready to go there yet, even though she may feel that way. And so, it was interesting seeing her try to offer Allegra advice here.
Yeah, and this is maybe probably the most interesting, for me anyway, the interesting aspects of this episode is Cajon is oddly intuitive about everything, whether it's emotions or feelings or knowledge or science. Like, she just seems to have this intuition about so many things, and I just don't know where that comes from, because neither Caitlin nor Frost had that. So why is she she essentially was just born, but yet she's got all of this worldly knowledge, and she's very blunt about it. Like, she just blurts out whatever question she has, no matter how uncomfortable the question may be.
Yeah. That was a funny little line. It's like they were talking about looking for stuff, and Allegra was like, and it wouldn't have taken as long as you did ask me about everything that we looked at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I wonder what they're doing with that. Like, what kind of speculation can we come up with Cajon? Like, what is the writing trying to do with her? Why is she so intuitive? Why is she so just the way she is? Like, is it just to give Danielle something different to play? Because I'm 3 episodes in a row, I'm appreciating her portrayal of getting to find something in between the other two, and it not feeling like either of them at all. Like, I'm watching her and I'm not thinking Frost and I'm not thinking Caitlin at all. This is a brand new character, so she's doing a good job there. But what are they doing with it? What is the progression for this character? Yeah,
I kind of wonder, like, what is her role in this season going to be? I mean, yeah, she's intuitive. We kind of guess that she may be connected to nature, maybe, but how is that going to play into this season with Red Death, with, maybe Cobalt Blue? How is that going to play in? I don't know. So,
yeah, interesting. I don't know. I mean, if this is all they're planning to do with her, just to give her something different to do, I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint what her purpose is right now.
Yeah,
is where I'm at, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, obviously, I think they wanted to give Danielle something new, and if they're getting Mark in there who has cold powers, rather than having 2 people with cold powers like we saw, somewhat last season, they wanted to do something new. So I don't know, but what the big plan is, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we will. All right, well, we are going to pause for a quick break. You may or may not hear an ad here. As we're learning this whole new system out, I had to do some digging and ask some questions about the place that's inserting the ads, and apparently not everybody will get ads. It depends on your geographical location. If a business in that area purchased an ad, you will hear it, because I noticed that I get local ads. When I listen back to the episode, I get local ads from a car dealership here in my small little town up here. So I'm like, you guys definitely aren't hearing those ads. Everybody's getting different ads from what I'm hearing. So it's very geographically based. And if a business did not purchase ad time and you're listening to it in, say, small town Minnesota, you're not going to get an ad. So, but we're still going to practice doing the thing. We're going to pause for a little ad break, and there we go. And now we're back, whether that was 30 seconds later or exactly a split second later. Let's get to some favorite scenes.
Shape out an eagle!
And I'm going to go first. Mine comes really early in the episode here. Another 3 weeks in a row comical clip here, because you took the one serious one that really had any meaning to it, and there really wasn't anything else left. So like I was just talking about, I enjoy Daniel Panabaker's portrayal of her new character, and this is just one of her little funny moments. So here it is.
Hi, Chuck. And Keon. Have you ever noticed that there is nothing natural inside Star Labs? I mean, there aren't even windows. Are we underground?
There you go. Super quick and short. Yeah, I really didn't have a lot to pick from, but she's almost getting to be the comic relief this season.
Yeah.
What did you get for us?
All right, I call this one Help Each Other Grow, so let's take a listen.
I wish we were back in Paris. What is it?
Lately, our lives have been all about what's coming and how we can accomplish all of these tasks before little Nora gets here, but there's nothing for me to accomplish by myself. And I'm just worried that once we become parents...
You won't have time. That's why you wanted to come to the crime scene. Why you've been pushing yourself so hard to find out who's bankrolling the rogues.
Yeah. I just feel like if I don't break one more big story before Nora comes, that I might not get the chance.
Hey. When you're pregnant, and afterward, when you're a mom, you will still have time to pursue your dreams. Because when you need that time, I'll be there. To change diapers. Or stay up with a bottle for late feedings. Or I'll fight crime on 3 hours of sleep. I want you to have everything.
Yeah, I want that for you too, Mary. I think it's easier said than done.
I know, but we just have to trust that just like we're making time for us as a couple now, we'll also continue to help each other grow. 2 Pulitzers, remember?
Maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
Yeah, I just appreciate both Barry and Iris are working together, building their marriage, and I love this scene with Barry voicing that desire for them both to grow as people. And honestly, I just really wish we would have gotten this earlier in the run of the show. I mean, this is stuff that it's not, to me, it's not to the Superman and Lois marriage aspect that we've seen in that aspect, in that show, but it's getting there, and it just makes me long that we had gotten it earlier in the run, because it would have felt more earned and more, I don't know, it would have just made for a stronger series having this throughout the series. And I'm glad we're getting it now, but just wish we had gotten it earlier.
You're right, because Superman and Lois was able to do it right from the get-go. From episode 1, we were able to get that feeling of marriage and family and how important that is to these characters. And with Flash, it's been more of, how many times can we split these two up and have to save Iris again and all that kind of stuff. And it never allowed us to really grow into their relationship and have that powerful love story. Instead, it was force-fed to us. Oh, you're the paragon of love, and da-da-da, and our love, and you're my lightning rod. And well, like that, it was so forced on us that we all went, like, enough. So it's coming in late, but it is appreciated now. So hopefully they can take it out to the end of the show and make us feel good about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have got a voicemail from Justina, our green butterfly, as she talks about this week's comics she's recommending.
This week for Cougar's Comic Corner Flash Edition, we have Batman the Red Death, #1. As the events of Dark Knight Metal rock the DC universe, the creatures of the Dark Multiverse stand ready to invade the world. How can even the world's greatest heroes stop a horde of deadly beings that appear to be powerful nightmare versions of these familiar figures. This was originally published by DC in September 20th, 2017, and is available wherever you love to get your comics for $3.99.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that, it gets into Batman becoming Red Death, and from what I've seen in the reviews, they're saying the story is really good, the art maybe not so much, but the cover of the issue she is talking about does feature Red Death and on there, so take a look and you can kind of maybe compare it to the Red Death we're seeing now. So
yeah, I just find that hard to believe to me in today's comic world. How can you have bad art? Like, is there not somebody that looks at it and go, no, send this back to the drawing board, start over again, this is crap? I don't understand why someone looks at it and goes, yeah, this is great, you send it to production. Like, because we've seen really bad art and we've seen really good art, and I mean, it's up to everybody's tastes, of course.
Yeah, there are several artists that I really enjoy their take on characters, and they are very gifted artists. I mean, I love Phil Noto's work. He does. Right now, he's doing a lot. He's done some for DC, but right now he's doing primarily for Marvel and X-Men. But his characters are so good. He throws in little hints of people. Like, I did a side-by-side of his take on Domino, and like I did half the face of Domino from the comics, and the other half the face is Gillian Anderson, and like it looks like he based that off of Gillian Anderson.
Mrs. X-Files. Wow.
Yeah, so but you have different takes on different art, and I don't know if that version of Dark Knight's metal, is supposed to be like, inspired by heavy metal art and things like that, and so that maybe they're going for that. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to read the issue yet, so who knows?
Yeah. Like you said, it all comes down to taste. I mean, you can see behind me on the video, I got Dawn McTeague, her Star Wars art behind me, and she's my favorite. I love the way Dawn draws her females there. It's just it's amazing stuff. So
yeah,
but it's personal preference, right? So.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Dawn McTeague, she travels all over North America to all of the Comic-Cons, so if you happen to go to one, go look for her and see what you think.
Yeah.
My favorite. All right, well, let's remind our supporters that... No, let's not remind our supporters. They're already supporting the show. Let's remind other people how they can support the show.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Don't keep it to yourself now. Come on, baby, talk to us. It's feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. We are going to kick off feedback with our co-hosts that are not here, Mr. Silvervox and Green Butterfly, so here we go.
Hello, boyos. This is crossing things off the list for the final season of The Flash, the Silvervox. What's up? What's happening? So sorry I can't join the podcast tonight. I am hanging with out-of-state family. You know how it goes. Family man first. But talking about Season 9, Episode 3, Rogues of War. I give this one 8.5. Rogues, I never knew that I missed this much. I absolutely adore Goldface, especially, and so excited that he is returning, coming back, and being a part of Team Flash. I think that is brilliant. I'm looking over here at X-Force 11's incredible notes. This, to me, was a solid, fun episode. I don't know that I've had this much fun with The Flash in a very, very long time. The story was cohesive, well-paced, Barry took note of things that he needed to do differently and did it, along with consultation from his team and Iris. And so I'm all about those things. So I give that very high marks. Was fun to see the rogues and the enemy rogues fleshed out a little bit more. Murmur, the new on the scene, was fantastic. Love that character and love how they're building her, especially with the sign language aspect and how she communicates with the others and is very dedicated to her purposes. I like that. Barry and Iris, I'm torn a little bit about this whole, I've got to get the rest of my life together before I get pregnant. Now, as a father of 4, I understand that it takes incredible balance to make this happen, but I feel like Iris should be a little bit more aware, maybe? I don't know if that's even the right word, that life not only continues, but all it does is change. And what you want and need to accomplish, even while you have a small baby, is just that. And so I'm a little perplexed that they chose to portray it this way. And maybe it's just her character's fears, which I totally don't stand in judgment of. It's I don't know. I guess I'm just surprised maybe that this is her character's reactions. So Red Death. Fantastic movement along with this story, and as I predicted last week, I'm sure that we're going to get to see what's been happening to Ryan over the few weeks that she's been missing from Gotham City. Interesting that they chose to do it that way, like, hey, nobody sent up an alarm that Batwoman's been off the scene for a long time, and yes, I know we don't have Batwoman's ongoing story, but still kind of odd that she's just gone. So anyway, I look forward to seeing what's gotten her to this position and maybe understanding Red Death more and more over the next 2 episodes. A little bit encouraged with the Chuck and Allegra stuff. I don't want this to continue to go on and on and on and on and on, but am impressed that they are working through this from the fear angle of Allegra, fearing attachment because of how she's been burned before. I can at least identify with that, get on board with that, and I'm not frustrated with, okay, are they or are they not, kind of a thing. Chester needs to be a little bit more cool if he's going to win the situation, and I hope that they will improve his kind of self-doubt from that standpoint before we get too much further on this. Finally, Keon, as I feared, is just kind of there, not really useful, and I guess from the audience's standpoint, she's the blank slate that's kind of watching all these things happen and getting her reaction to it all. I can do without that. So hopefully she adds more to the team than what we're seeing so far. All right, I think that's going to do it for me. I hope to be back with you guys next week. Otherwise, have a great one. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all, and we will see you around Central City hanging out. The Silver Vox is out.
Speaking of different tastes of all kinds.
Yeah, I mean, so, he was, had higher ranking and enjoying some of the rogues a little bit more. So
that's the positive voice that we really needed to counter my negativity tonight. You're kind of in the middle a little bit, so yeah, glad he came in with some high things to say about this episode. That's good. It's funny because I'm just sitting here laughing at myself because he was countering everything that I complained about. He loved. I'm like, wow, we couldn't have 2 different perspectives more on this episode, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Good stuff. All right, Green Butterfly is next.
Hi, this is your Eye in the Sky Green Butterfly. I think that episode of Flash was just sort of average. There was some bright points in it for me, though. I love getting to peek in on Iris and Barry's adventures as they go through their list of fun things that they want to do before the next stage of their life. My absolute favorite part of the episode was Iris expressing her concern about when they do become parents, will that be the only thing that defines her, and how will she have time for other things? And I really enjoyed Barry stepping in at this moment and saying that he was willing to fight crime on 3 hours of sleep, and he was going to be her partner and change diapers, and they were going to be in this together. And that was definitely my favorite moment of the episode. I don't know why it is when you get reformed bad guys together, they have to fight with each other. So I was a little bit bored with that part of the episode, because I feel like that type of thing happens so frequently. And I really enjoyed the final scene reveal of Red Death. And I hope for people that don't follow the news as closely as I do, that was a real shock, yell at the TV kind of surprise moment. Because as much as I liked it and as much as I was looking forward to it, that was the whole point. Like, I was looking forward to it because I had already read that Javicia would be becoming this Red Death, and I think that it would have been such an amazing surprise had I not known that ahead of time and it hadn't been available in the press that I had read even a couple months ago before this season began. So all in all, I give this episode 7 out of 10 perfect creme brulees. Have a super week.
So this, what is so interesting about this episode is the varying perspectives of enjoyment that is happening. Because normally, like, you look at last week when Silverbox was unhappy, was with me, and Green Butterfly comes in with positivity, and this week they're flipped. Usually Green Butterfly is our green light of positive vibes, and she came in going, not so much, and Silverbox is like, man, I loved it, so much fun. So this is crazy for this episode. Crazy. All right, well, you got an email to read by Comic Geek Kev.
Hey, Legends. So after a decent first episode, a meh second, we now have a here we go again third. While I'm not sold on what they're doing with the Keon character, I love what Danielle Pennebaker is doing with her. She's doing a great job. I literally couldn't care less about Chuck and Allegra, even though with this crap taking up time in the final season. But I know it's the CW. But you've got a short landing strip. Don't waste our time. I'm over the Alan West relationship as well. Too much drama. They'll be together at the end. They're inseparable. They're a force of nature. Yada, yada, yada. However, I like how they're finally taking advantage of Barry's powers to do things around the world that other people would find much more difficult.
Yes to that. If we were not Flash speed, would you not do everything? I would be doing way more. I mean, he can go to Flash time and visit Hawaii for a week and come back and only a few seconds have passed. Like, you know?
I just think if you could travel virtually anywhere and not have to pay for airfare.
Yeah.
Yes. They really don't even need to pay for hotels. Just run back home when you're done. That's pretty cool.
That is true, yeah.
I did like seeing some of the old rogues back to battle the other rogues. You get a rogue, and you get a rogue, and you get a rogue. I also loved seeing Ryan at the end. They need to keep the helmet off for now, unless she's actually speeding in speeding/in battle. And I'm eagerly awaiting the explanation of what happened to her. And if Luke Fox gets a mention, then Camaris Johnson should get some screen time. Maybe even as Batwing. Yeah. That would be cool to see him in that Batwing armor. So
that'd be cool. I have to go backwards to the paragraph before that, though, because I'm a little late to the ball here. You get a rogue and you get a rogue. Everybody gets a freaking rogue. That's courtesy of Nora Dark from Legends, remember? You get a pony. You get a pony.
And that's a takeoff on Oprah, so.
All right.
Oh, goodness. But the dialogue, once again, borders on and often falls into ludicrous. Like everyone having to their little personalized saying before they take out the meta dampener engines.
Along with their poses and their costumes.
Yeah. I know it probably sounds like I hate the show, but I don't. Like with Legends, I know what great stuff has come before, and I'm patiently waiting for that to happen again. Arrow and Supergirl had some clunkers too, especially Supergirl. I'm sticking with it until the end. Plus, honestly, I'm dying to see who they bring back, including the Legends characters. Us too.
Yeah.
So, until next time, I'm giving this 6.5 Benedict Blaine's Comic Geek Kev.
Well, I think other than the numbers, I think you used words that were harsher than mine, but your number is higher. But, thanks for joining me in the basement down here. I was feeling a little lonely. Good stuff, Comic Geek Kev. You definitely had us laughing on this one.
Mm-hmm.
The last up for tonight is Mr. Perry White.
Hey, Speed Demons. Perry White here with feedback for the Flash episode Rogues of War. I'm going to go ahead and give this episode a 9, as in
what?
The only 9 people left in Central City who don't know that Barry Allen is the Flash.
What?
In my opinion, this episode was a step up from the second episode. It was just fun and sort of breezy in a way. It was really cool to see our sort of rogues, whether it was the Red Death rogues or Barry Allen's rogues, just sort of interacting with each other and sort of having opportunities to sort of just bounce things off of each other and sort of like just have some fun, man. And like I said, like from the very beginning, I just wanted this season to give us some fun, and they've certainly taken that ball and run with it. I also appreciate the fact that we have now more insight into our big bad for the season, Red Death. And obviously, as a fan of Batwoman, probably one of the only fans of that show who are left, it was obviously really nice to get the Luke Fox drop here. Also to have, the fact that our Batwoman is playing Red Death, and based on what we've seen, it's going to be our Batwoman that is this Red Death. It's not a Batwoman who is from the future or anything like that, at least as best I can tell. So the fact that we get to have this Red Death, who also has the history of the Ryan Wilder that I know and love, makes this even more intriguing. Probably the only thing, and it's not anything that I'm taking away from the show, but when she gave the iconic line, "I am vengeance," I kind of sort of wish that she had maintained or kept the helmet on when she gave that line, just so it could have been in a deeper voice, and then maybe you sort of ease off on the modulation and find out that it's a woman's voice that's delivering it, and then have the reveal. Because I'll just be honest, every time I hear that line, I hear Kevin Conroy's voice, and it would have just been nice if it had been like a little bit of a deeper voice, softening a little bit to Javisa Leslie's voice, but that's just a minor nitpick. like I said, man, I just had fun with this episode, and I just thought it was cool, man. And I am enjoying this season, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Anyway, this has been Perry White, making another deadline, and my voice isn't scratchy, so here you go with the voicemail. I'm out.
Nice.
Yes, good stuff. That surprised me. Me and Carrie have almost been, arm in arm through everything, whether we liked it or complained about it. So that shocked me when you said 9. I was like, what? I almost fell off my chair, Perry. So crazy. This episode, I can't believe this episode is so up and down. People are all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating. Well, if you would like to get in your thoughts for The Flash as we head into episode 4 of the 9th season, this is what you gotta do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Yes, and what a wonderful community it is. Our Facebook page is always alive with tons of chatter and fun things happening. People always posting stuff, and yeah, it's a good place to be. Good place to hang out to talk about all your favorite TV shows and characters and stuff. So definitely get over there to Tomorrow's Legends. Just remember, there is questions that you must answer. If you're not part of the group, you have to answer the questions. If we see a request to join the group and they're not answered, we deny it because we've got too many, fake profiles and other business profiles and different things trying to join. So you've got to answer those questions, guys. That is all we got. What's happening this weekend? I got The Mandalore happening with Bad Batch, and we're prepping for Mandalorian Season 3 premiere, which comes on Wednesday. So holy crap, get ready for that, guys.
Lots of good Star Wars coming.
Yeah, that means Flash here is going to get very, very busy. I might get confused about my identity. Is it Flash versus Cyber Ren? Which one is it tonight? I don't remember.
Cyber Flash.
Flash Ren? Yeah, who knows? Oh, man. Well, that is all we got for you guys this week. Yeah, everybody have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week for the next episode. This is The Flash signing off.
This is X-Force 11, so say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.